I just read a depressing statistic. Apparently shift workers will die on average 15 years sooner than their counterparts who don't do shift work. I'm Remy, I'm a doctor, I do shift work. I work as an obstetrics and gynecology registrar, which means that my work pattern can be anything between long days, nights and standard days. If I'm doing a long day, it will be between 8 and 8:30 p.m. If I'm doing a night shift, it will be 8 p.m. till 8:30 a.m. the next day. And if I'm doing a standard day, it's typically between 8 and 5 p.m. And then I can also work on the weekends. On average, I'm supposed to do a 48-hour week, but that's average over a 16-week rolling rota. I have a video here about how I plan my year around the rota. In this video, I want to talk about the effect of shift work on family, and specifically my family, and specifically night shifts. And the reason I want to talk about that is because every time I go for a night shift, my daughter is like, "No, mummy, don't go." And I'm just like, why do you care? You're asleep. What am I going to do when you're asleep? Which is not funny, but whatever. And if we know that shift work has an effect on individuals, we also will know that it has an effect on families. So when I do night shifts, I will do them sort of back to back. So I'll do 3 nights in a row and typically then have a week off to recover. Or I'll do 4 nights in a row and then I'll have the weekend off to recover. And when I do night shifts at the hospital, I'm not the only one, obviously. We have midwives, we have nurses, we have healthcare workers, we have porters, cleaners, receptionists, like they all do shift work too. And every time I want to moan about working a night shift, I genuinely think about the other people that are there who are also working night shifts, literally ticking to keep the hospital going. And when I speak to midwives, there are some that will only ever do a night shift, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because it's in the context of family and balancing family life. Now, if I was someone that had complete control over my rota and I wanted to be there for my kids all the time, but I knew that I had to, work or working with what was needed, I may well opt for night shifts like some of my midwifery colleagues. Because if you think about it, you get home by the time the kids have gone to school, if you're lucky enough to have someone else drop them, and then you'll sleep and then you'll wake up in time to pick them up, do dinner with them, and then you'll go to work. So for me, if I was going to pick any shift that I felt was less disruptive to the family, I would pick a night shift. When you do a long day, however, you will go before they wake up. Well, it depends on the commute, but you may well just see them in the morning, and by the time you're home they will be in bed. Like my kids go to bed at 8 p.m, so I'll then miss them at bedtime. And if I do 3 long days in a row, it means I won't see my children until the 4th day. So that can take its toll on family life also. But specifically in the context of night shift, why does having a night shift affect the family so much? Well, I know when I'm doing nights, I don't sleep very well. So you're at work for the 12.5 hours and you may well have an opportunity to rest, but that's not guaranteed, and it's not interrupted. And if you do, you might get a half hour, an hour. And then when you get home, it's daytime, right? And what do people like to do during the day? They like to make noise. So I prefer the shifts when my kids are at school because I know I can sleep. But then I'll be in bed and I'll hear my neighbours doing some building work. I'd hear the person trying to deliver post. And then once the kids are back from school, you basically have to be up. So I find for sure that I'm not getting anywhere near 7 hours of sleep uninterrupted during a night shift. And then it messes up your diet, right? Like I do intermittent fasting, so typically I won't start eating till about midday, and then I'll stop eating at 8 p.m. When I'm on a night shift, my goodness, I don't even know really if I'm coming or going. And I've tried before to be like, oh, I'll just keep my same pattern of eating, but you can't because you're sleeping at 1 p.m. So say I wake up at 5 p.m, I'm hungry, but I could, I guess in essence, not eat and then start eating at 10 p.m. and then stop eating at 5 a.m. That might work. I might think about that. But anyway, it messes up my diet, so I then find that I'm eating probably more, and because you're awake at night, your circadian rhythm kicks in, the stress levels kick in, and then you're eating more, and it tends to be eating more junk as well in the workplace. And then you need to recover. So if I've done 4 nights and I finish Friday morning, I literally will think in my head that I need to sleep till about 2 p.m, go pick up the kids, do the nighttime routine with them, and try as much as possible to be in bed by 10 p.m. But again, my body is adjusted, so it doesn't work like that. I might not sleep till 1 or 2 in the morning, which means that I'm catching up on my lack of sleep for days, and I found the older I get, the harder it is to switch back and forth. So just to summarize so far, the issues that night shifts cause on family is that it can be great for picking up your kids, but actually you've got less sleep in general, and it means that your mood is probably a little bit crappy, your diet tends to be crappier, and research has already told us that we're likely to die 15 years sooner than are people who don't do night shifts. So I find, for me anyway, the best way to work around it is to ensure that before your night shift start that you sleep at least a couple of hours, and then try and get bits of uninterrupted sleep. So you may well not get the 7 hours, but aim for 5 or 6. If you ever get the chance to rest at work, do rest. In terms of diet, I would say avoid the like high sugar snacks, and avoid eating if you don't need to beyond sort of midnight, because I find that that's not necessarily healthy for you, and you're better off just having a nutritious breakfast when you get home and then sleeping, waking up and eating again. For me, it obviously doesn't necessarily match up with my intermittent fasting, but I think that's the best way to do it when I'm on a night shift. And ultimately, where we see this at, we need to question our life decisions. We have to question our life decisions. Lives need to be saved, work needs to be worked, but do we need to do it at the cost of our health? And if we know that we're already setting ourselves up for failure, which other healthy decisions can we make in life to try and balance the books? But yeah, so this is a little bit more of a rant. I hope you've taken a tiny bit of value about maybe how you can incorporate some healthy practices when you're doing a night shift. And just like thinking about how does one actually balance up with the family. I think on the whole, with young kids in school, it's actually not the end of the world. The weekends can be quite harsh, especially if the kids want to be in the home, and again during the holidays. But what you need to do is be strict, and when it's your sleep time, because we just discussed how important sleep is, you get a family member, a friend or someone to take them out the house and take the noise with them. What do you do during your night shifts? Is there anything that you specifically do to get you through? Because I would be interested to hear. And what other tips and tricks can I incorporate into my sort of night work routine? Do drop them in the comments below. Until then, I'll see you in my next video.